Welcome to Module 1, Lesson 9. Today's topic, we're going to be focusing on how we can relate multiplication facts by adding or subtracting equal groups in an array. So this is a kind of a strategy that we kind of want to get an idea of now, because in later grades, especially middle school and high school, this is a concept that is important to understand because you're going to use it a lot in those math classes. So we kind of want to understand it visually now so we can kind of understand how grouping works in multiplication. But in addition, it is a very helpful tool to understand, so when we get into later grades, we can be like, oh, I kind of understand where we're going with this, versus being like, this is completely new to me. So, to start off here, I'll kind of show you what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to draw an array here. I'm not going to give you the multiplication sentence yet, because we're going to find that out. I'm going to give you a quick array, and let's say we're going to have a 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll have 4 in each group. And I'm going to, let's say that we'll have 3 groups. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I have 1, 2, 3 groups with 1, 2, 3, 4 in each group. And we could create a multiplication sentence for this, but I'm going to hold off on that just for a second because I want to show you that you can add things to this if done properly. So I'll use a different colored marker here to represent here. Here is one group, or 3 groups of 4. So this is kind of one multiplication sentence. Now I can take this red marker, and I'm going to add an additional group at the bottom. And so I'm going to have it red so we recognize that we're talking about 2 different things here. Now, there's a couple of different ways that we could say this. I could say, how many circles are there in total? And if you're going to say we can add them up one by one, you're right, you can totally do that. But I want to challenge and push a little bit farther into a different idea. I'm going to say we could just find the total multiplication sentence for it all, finding how many groups multiplied by how many in each group. Or you can find them separately and then put them together. So we're going to go ahead and do it separately first and then put them together, because that's how you're probably going to see it in some of your Zern work or in your problem sets. So for this one, we're just going to go ahead and pretend like this is 2 completely different problems. They're 2 separate problems. So let's go ahead and look at this first one. Once again, let's find out how many groups there are. There's 1, 2, 3. So I will put a 3 right here. I'm going to put some quotation parentheses around it just so we know where it begins and ends. And we're going to multiply it by how many are in each group. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So 3 times 4. And we can solve for that, but I'm not going to do that quite yet. I'm just going to say that this is 3 times 4. Now, I'm going to go ahead, take the red one now, and we're going to go ahead and find and solve this one. First off, you always ask, how many groups are there? 1. There's only one red group, only one. So 1 times how many are in each group? 1, 2, 3, 4. There is 4. Now, I'll come back to this in a moment, but it is very crucial that if we're going to continue going on with the steps, that both of them have the same number in each group. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Now, one way I could then turn this is I can write this out in a different sentence. But before we do that, let me just go ahead and solve these. We can go 3 times 4, and we can skip count by 4 3 times. We can go 4, 8, 12. And since we're at 3, we stop. So there's a total of 12 there. And we can do the same thing for 1 times 4. We skip count by 4 1 time. So we go 4. We only have 1, so the answer would be 4 for that, so since we only have 1 group. So that equals 4. Now I have that information up there. Now I'm going to show you how this can be rewritten in a different format now. I could have written this down here at the bottom. I'm going to use parentheses again and say this first one is 3 times 4. And if I wanted to add it to this one, I could then say plus, use the red one again just so we visually see the difference here, 1 times 4. And you can say that equals a total of something. Once you get to this point, you just do you still do them separately right now. You just drop it down, you look at 3 times 4, and you solve 3 times 4. And we already did that up here, so I'll just bring that down here. So 3 times 4 becomes 12. and we add that to the answer of 1 times 4, which is, I can get this marker cap on. Oopsies. There we go. Which equals 4. And now we can find out altogether, what do we have? And you just do 12 plus 4, and you start at 12 and go 13, 14, 15, 16, and that would be 16. So that there is a total of 16 circles. And we can double check our work here. We can double check to make sure that this really works. And we can do that by just doing it all together over here. And I'll use a blue marker for this one. Instead of doing 3 and 1 here, I'm just going to do it all together. And so let's count how many groups do I have all together. So we can go 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have 4 times, and how many are in each group? 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 times 4. And so you can skip count by 4 times and go 4, 8, 12, 16. So we would get that total answer as 16. Now, you can see they both give you the same answer because they're essentially the same problem. This one's just broken up a little bit more. So there's kind of like 2 different steps. I'm going to look at this bit, and then I'm going to look at this bit, solve that bit first, then I'm going to stick them together. While this one is just saying, you know what, I'm just going to do them all together, and I'm going to stick them together that way. And just find it straight out. This one is the faster method, yes, but it's important to still understand and be able to practice this method so that when you get to later grades and whatnot, it'll come to you faster and you'll understand the motions of like geometry, algebra, and some of those other things you might run into in later grades. So I'm going to go ahead and erase this, and now we're going to go ahead and do another problem very similar to this. Give me 1 second, I forgot my eraser. Don't worry, I am back. I have my handy dandy eraser. Don't want to use my hand. That just would take way too long. So I'm going to go ahead and create 7 groups here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm going to put 2 in each one of these groups as well. And I'm going to use a different marker to represent what I will be adding to it. On your homework, it's going to be the same color all the way through, but there will either be a space, a pretty obvious space, or there will be a line to represent that you're moving on to kind of the second part of it, the separation of it. And I'm going to add 2 more groups of 2 at the bottom here. Now, I'm going to go ahead and do something here. I'm going to erase 1 group right there. Let's say you wanted to just go ahead and straight up solve this entire thing together. And what you'd have to do is count up how many total groups you have and how many are in each group. Now, as kind of hinted on earlier, this is a very important thing is recognizing. In multiplication and division, when you're talking about groups and how many are in each group, we're always talking about how in each group, every single group has the exact same amount in each group. And for the most part, this is true. What we've done here is accurate. This one has 2, 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 all the way down. But this one right here, does this one have 2? I don't believe it does. So which means we can't do this as a multiplication problem. It needs to have the same amount in each group. So just keep in mind, I am not able to do this. So I'm going to go ahead and fill that back in just so we have that idea. Now, I'm going to do this in more of the way that you will see it on your homework or on Zern. You will have 2 boxes that are empty. Let me make that a little smaller just so I can fit it on the same line so it kind of looks more similar to what you guys will be dealing with. And just letting you know, this problem may look very similar to one on your problem set if you wanted to follow along. That's a hint. It's on your problem set. So if you want to pause and find that, you're more than welcome to. So you're going to have something that looks like this. You say something plus something, and then other stuff underneath it saying now this become something plus something else, and then it equals a final number. This is going to be a format that will be relatively familiar to you in the next couple of like problems and whatnot. So this first spot is always going to be the first bit of your problem. Okay, since we're cutting it right here, that line, we're splitting it in two separate ones. So this first one, let's just do a quick count. I'll go through this a little quickly because we know how to count by ones. We know how to count how many groups and how many are in each group. So let's go ahead and do that. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, let me just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 7. Once again, if you make a little bit of a mistake, it's better to double check yourself than go, I probably did it right. And there's 1, 2 in each group. So that first one becomes 7 times 2. Now, I'm going to grab that red marker just so you know what I'm doing a different one. This next one is going to be the second part of that question right here. So this one has 2 groups with 2 in each. And then you just go down the line in here. This top one just comes straight down below it to this one right here. So 7 times 2 is what? You can do that math real quick. I'll let you know right now. It is 14. You can go 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. So this is 14. Counted by 2, 7 times. And then 2 times 2, you go 2, 4. Keep counting by 2 twice, you get 4. And then at the end, all together, you will have 18. Which means you could then find the problem for this one over here and just count them all together. Go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times 2. And that will give you 18 once you do the math on that. Now, you can do this in the addition format, but I also want to show you can do this with subtraction. I'll do this with a smaller model just so you guys can go ahead and start practicing it on your own. But what you could do is say you have 6 groups. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And let's say there's 3 in each. And you're like, you know what? I don't know skip counting to 6 that well, so what I'm going to do instead of having it already broken up, I'm going to break it up. I'm going to say I'm going to put these 5 together, and then I'm going to keep this one by itself. And altogether, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 times 1, 2, 3. 6 times 3. But I don't entirely want to do that. So I could do this and add it to that top one, and then do the bottom one and add it to it. But I'm going to show a slightly different method for you guys here. Just ever so slightly. And this is when you can, take away. Let's say, you know what 6 times 3 is off the top of your head, but you don't know what 5 times 3 is on top of your head. You can use this as a strategy to solve that. And so for it, what you do is that you would find the entire thing. You saw that 6 times 3. I'm going to go through this just a little quickly so you guys can get started on your own work. And you find that out is 18. And then you take this one extra group right here, and you say, I want to take this and I want to take it away. I want to get rid of it. I don't want it anymore. So I'm going to take this. I'm going to make its own problem. And this is one group of 3. And that would become 3. Now, just quickly, think in your head, if I am trying to get rid of it, would I add this 3 to the 18, or would I subtract it? Just give you a second to think on that. If you need to pause, I'm going to give you the answer in a couple of seconds here. So if you want to pause and think about it, you're more than welcome to. So for this in particular, since I have 6 groups, and I'm getting rid of one, trying to get it, go away, I don't want you anymore, you'll be subtracting here. So for this one, you would do 18 minus 3 equals 15. And that would give you, if you were just wanting these ones right here. It's a little confusing. It's a little bit of a long way around, but it's still a good strategy to have, and it will be a very helpful tool to know when you guys get into middle school and high school. And honestly, even in 4th and 5th and 6th grade, this is still a helpful strategy. Anyways, hopefully this is helpful, and I hope you guys have a good day.